and welcome to this week's episode of the Teachers Off Duty podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of teaching. You got to check it out.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Teachers Off Duty podcast. My name is Tyler Jackowski, otherwise known as Fishin' for Clout. And with me is...
Leslie Robb, Leslie Robb Comedy, I guess you could say.
I'm Gabe Dannenbring. What's up? Hey, you got something to tell us. What's going on?
How do you pronounce your last name?
Dannenbring.
Dannenbring.
I've been called a lot of different names in my life. Some of them not related or doesn't even sound like Dannenbring.
Yeah,
Some
I
of them
thought Jackowski was a mouthful, but
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Dannenbring.
See,
Got
and
it.
I love that you have your Polish last name.
Yeah.
My mom's from Poland, and her main name is Kubiak.
Yeah.
And she told me if there's ever a name that ends S-K-I, it's probably Polish.
Yeah.
And then I saw you were with your last name.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's Polish.
Okay, but
that
you
was
should
like our
know.
first conversation we had in the car was, hey, are you Polish?
Yeah, but it's important to me that you know that I've seen your last name a million times. I was never going to try it.
Nah, that's all right. That's all right.
I was never going to... Hello, Gabe Dannenbring. No, because I would have been like Dannenbring.
Yeah, that's right.
Insane.
Yep.
The Struggle is Real comedy tour. The summer dates are over, but we have a lot coming up. In September, we have Rutland, Vermont, Syracuse, New York, Buffalo, New York, Erie, Pennsylvania, Dayton, Ohio, South Bend, Indiana, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Maryland, York, Pennsylvania, and Reading, Pennsylvania. In October, we have Vancouver, Connecticut, Honolulu, Hawaii, Providence, Rhode Island, Waterbury, Connecticut, Medford, Mass. Where don't they go?
Exactly.
Honestly. Medford, Mass, Concord, New Hampshire, Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, Northfield, Ohio, Charleston, West Virginia, Glenside, Pennsylvania, Huntington, New York, Montclair, New Jersey, Easton, Pennsylvania, Champaign, Illinois.
Champagne.
Champagne.
Close.
Almost.
Let me live, damn it. I made it through the first 50 places. Champaign, Illinois. Never heard of that place. Peoria, Illinois. Chicago, Illinois. Did I say Peoria right?
I don't.
Oh, we're going to figure it out.
I mean, I just went
Chicago,
with it.
Illinois. I got that one. Indianapolis, Indiana. Charlottesville, Virginia. Tysons, Virginia. And Red Bank, New Jersey.
Woo! Well done.
Wow.
You nailed it.
I need my inhaler.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Crushed it.
Again, we should just say places we're not going. That would be so much faster. Be like, this place, and this place. Sorry.
For sure.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my goodness.
Crushed it.
That is stressful.
I don't know. It's not easy.
Good Lord.
It's like I know how the kids feel when they have to like recite all 50 states, and they're just like, I don't know where to go.
Recite all 50
I don't. I
states?
teach science, but I know
okay.
some teachers do. It'd be really weird if I did that in
I
science.
taught social studies, and I still didn't make them do that because I was like, I've gotten that test, and I have failed that test way too many times to make you do it.
Well, if anything, it should have just reminded you of first day attendance when we're trying to pronounce names. So
Well, you know what's funny?
That's what it would have
In
done.
high school, I took a social studies class, and I remember it pissed me off because in high school, I was like a super go-getter. Like, I wanted A's on everything. And we took...
Nerd. Just kidding.
Like, for real.
Listen, I know that, but you don't have to say it so loud, all right? We already knew that. But I remember I got a 99 because I got everything right except for Connecticut.
Oh.
Connect, I cut, and it just escaped my mind.
But aren't you from Massachusetts? Isn't Connecticut, like, next door?
It's not Massachusetts. If it's
How do
not
you spell Massachusetts? I can never.
Massachussetts.
Well done.
Wow, that was really good.
Yeah, I don't even know if
No
it's
one
correct.
knows if I spelled it
I
right.
was gonna say.
I
I
trust.
could have recited the whole alphabet, and you'd be like, "Damn, he did it!"
I was like, I don't know if
Bostonian
it's
can read. It's crazy. All right, we're teachers. We
That
see
we are.
a lot of stuff in the classroom, good, bad, and ugly moments. I think
sure.
for some positivity, what are some good moments you've had in the classroom that just like keep you going?
Honestly, it's the connecting with a kid and building a relationship. I know, like, we hear that all the time, especially, like, when you go to write a referral and they're like, hey, did you try building a relationship? But I thrive and, like, that is my thing. Like, relationship building with my students is my thing. And so something that stands out to me is there was a student. She was from the inner city of New York. She had literally beaten a girl so bad that the video footage could not be released to the families. So she got expelled, and they had to send her her to another state to continue school, because once you get expelled, that's a wrap. She couldn't go to school in New York. So they sent her to my class. Oh. And so all the teachers at our school were like, I don't want her. I'm like, well, I mean, hey, I'll take her, whatever. So she came in my class the first day, and most teachers will go based on a kid's reputation, but I'm like, no. So literally, I think she was expecting me to be like, oh, but she walked in and I'm like, hey, so tell me where you're from. Like, tell me about you. I treated her just like any other student.
Sure.
I'm telling you guys, like, you could tell her, you could almost see her shoulders just relax.
Yeah.
Because now I've broken the ice. Mm-hmm. And now, literally, to this day, we're still connected. Yeah. I taught her, like, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing, like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And she's an adult. She's grown. She's thriving. We bonded. And so me and Jazz will forever be tight.
Yep.
So, like, things like that keep me going. Like, connecting with my kids and building that relationship is essential.
Yep. 100%.
Well, I think the biggest thing for teaching is, like, that connection that you have, because it's unlike 99% of professions where you can build those relationships, and then you can physically see, Leslie, like you said, when you have that breakthrough moment with the kid, it's just incredible. Yep. There was a student I had this that I've had, and tough kid, tough as nails, just tough as nails. Life has been hard, it was not dealt the best hand, and he would have his bad days, and I would go up to the kid like, hey, what's going on? You want to talk? And 99% of the time the answer would be no.
Yep.
No. And then there was one day that we had a death in our school district, and it was a heavy day.
Student?
Yeah, it was a student.
That's hard.
And it was a heavy day, and then this kid had his head down, and I went over. I was like, hey, do you want to talk? And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, we're getting somewhere. So let's go out in the hallway and let's go talk. And then when we get out there, I was like, hey, what's going on? And then we start talking, and he starts talking about how difficult of a time he's going through. And then I didn't know what to do. Yeah. I let him talk, and then we just kind of stopped talking, and I just looked him in the eyes, and I said, hey, do you want a hug?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. I just gave him the biggest hug, and he just broke down. Mm-hmm. And it's those moments that you have as a teacher that are so incredible.
Yes.
But then it's hard as a teacher because you have what's called whiplash moments. There's what I call it, where that happened one day, and then what happened 45 minutes before that in this other class was a kid was having a terrible day and decided to take it out on me and was swearing at me, calling me all these terrible names. Mm-hmm. So I went from 1 minute or one class period thinking I'm this terrible teacher. I'm not good at what I do anymore. I can't connect with kids. Mm-hmm. Then 45 minutes later, I got a kid who's crying and talking to me about how they feel. So those are the moments where you have the good and the bad that are so close together, and that's why teaching can be so emotionally exhausting.
100%. I think it's those roller coaster moments that remind you that, like, a lot of people will say that they love being a teacher because no day is the same.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the thing is, like, on paper, that's a great thing to be able to, like, walk into a day not expecting it. Like, there's very little monotony because you literally never know what's going to happen. Yeah. But what I think a lot of people forget to think about is that, like, that level of, like, not knowing what's going to happen next, there can be a lot of crazy stuff that happens
dude,
for sure.
that day.
It's crazy.
100%. Like, you saying, like, one class you feel like you don't know what you're doing, and then the next class you feel like you're, like, saving the world.
Emotional whiplash.
It's
for sure.
emotional
For
whiplash.
sure.
100%.
I got an Aura ring, and I'm so glad that I got it. I'm not wearing it right now, but so with the, do you guys know what an Aura ring is?
No.
So
I have no idea
it's a ring.
I was like, sure.
Is this like that plus 1,000 aura that kids are talking
No,
about?
not that.
I was thinking mood ring.
We're back to Gen Z slang. Okay.
So what the Aura ring does is it reads biometrics. So the biggest thing is sleep and stress on there. Okay. So it gives you a stress score. So it collects data over weeks, and then it can say, okay, we know where, when you are at your baseline, here's where your stress level normally is. And if you're having a rough day, it'll say your stress is heightened, and we knew that because of X, Y, and Z. So I started wearing this to school, and at the end of the day, I wanted to show people the physical stress that we feel as teachers. Our body physically reacts to it. And the up and down chart was unbelievable.
Crazy.
Unbelievable what our body is physically going through and
yeah.
emotionally going through. And one of my favorite days that I wore it, I had to go sprinting through the hallway to go break up a fight. So I'm sitting in class and I look out my window of my classroom, like out into the hallway. So it's by the door. And all of a sudden, what catches my eye is I see a kid go bolting. I'm like, what is going on? He's really got to go to the bathroom. And then I see another kid.
He's been holding forever.
He bolts after. I'm like, what is going on? And then I see the other teacher. She comes running out. And she looks panicked. So I open up my door to go see what's going on. And she just says, go get them. And I just all of a sudden turned on the jets and I'm like, okay. And it just went taking off. And I went sprinting down the hall because I'm a former Division II college athlete, ran track, big flex, couldn't do D1 because I'm not good enough. So my D2 athlete came out at me, washed up, and I went flying to try to go find them. And I ended up catching them.
Can I pause you real quick? I was out of breath coming back from the bathroom today.
For sure.
Are we just not going to address the fact that he just said that out loud?
Legit, I was going to give him his props because his hair fell down perfectly.
No,
and his
100%
smolder
props.
kicked in
Yeah, with his,
as
like-
he said that.
Yeah, like the juxtaposition between you and me right now is incredible. If we're being honest, I'm sitting here. I'm like,
well then.
I'm like stressed out. Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
Go
you're
on.
good.
Go
You're
on.
good.
Chasing down this kid
so,
like a
so
warrior.
chase him down. We
He's
end
a
up
Spartan.
Yeah, we end up breaking it up, and then I pull up my app to look at what did my heart rate do during this, and you look at the graph and it's like flat, 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 flat. Boom, jump up like 150 beats per minute, and then drop back down. But the point I'm making in this is, not every day is the same, but physically, that takes a huge toll on us. And like, I can read the data and show people that. And then emotionally, it is so hard. It's so hard as a teacher.
This episode is sponsored by Mint Mobile. Hey, teacher friends, have you been paying way more than $15 a month for your wireless service? You're not alone. And that's not easy on a teacher's salary. Well, worry no more because Mint Mobile is here to rescue all of us underpaid teachers with premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month. At this monthly rate, you can save enough to buy a new phone every time you drop it or break it at school. Hashtag if you know, you know. So say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. Mint is giving this amazing offer to all our Teachers Off Duty listeners. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/TOD. That's mintmobile.com/TOD. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/TOD. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Something I actually haven't talked much about on like any of my platforms, but is a very real thing. And like, I'm glad you brought up like the anxiety around it. Like I was diagnosed with mass anxiety just this past school year. And it was because of feelings that I've had for as long as I've been a teacher. And it was to the point where like I was getting heart palpitations. I was getting a full-blown arrhythmia. And the only thing that pushed me to like getting some help for it
was you could have had a heart attack.
Just
that you could have died.
Hang tight. So last summer I was in Vegas visiting one of my friends, and during summer, like it was the beginning of August, and that's when like the stress of the beginning of the year kind of starts up, and I would have this weight in my chest. Like I would feel like someone was like sitting on my chest whenever I would like think about the school year and all the stuff that's going to happen in like new kids, new curriculum, new all this. And I like would notice I'd be like really, really short of breath. And I was at the gym and I like ran in for like 48 seconds because I'm not you. But I like
I washed up. I'm not a runner anymore.
Well, I was washed up before I even started. But I did like a quick run. It was like a mile. And then I had finished the run. I was like cooling down. And then I felt my heart like pounding and fast and like off beat. And I looked at my Apple Watch and my heart rate was at 210.
Oh my God.
210. I was a full-blown arrhythmia.
Good grief.
Wow.
And it was 210 sitting still for 11 minutes.
Wow.
Which to
That's
a 50-year-old man would be like an ER visit.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I called my mom. My mom's a heart doctor. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. And she's like, do you feel faint? Like, are you passing out? And I was like, no. And she's like, okay, you're probably not having a heart attack. And
Probably not.
So
That's so
after that,
reassuring.
and now like this situation, I also like I got myself into therapy like a year or two ago, and we had never really discussed like the anxiety perspective of it, and I didn't realize that like this job that we're doing is so conducive to anxiety.
Yep.
And I ended up getting like a full-blown diagnosis from like 2 psychiatrists, therapists, all this, and it turns out that I had like mass anxiety.
Oh, geez.
And it was causing legitimate heart problems for me. And the fact of the matter is that like my life outside of my job isn't all that stressful. You know, like I have all my friends, I have good family, like I'm pretty healthy, like all this, and it's like it was teaching.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not to say anything that it's not to say at all that I don't love teaching. I love it. But the fact of the matter is that there's a weight that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
Like there's a level of expectation that's put on you and a level of expectation that you put on yourself, and those two things together, it literally decayed my heart. You know, and just in November, like this is a great example of like what teachers end up going through with like their own expectations. I got a surgery to have a loop recorder put in my chest.
Oh, wow.
To monitor my heart.
Oh my gosh.
Because basically my doctors were like, okay, this is definitely onset because of stress.
Yeah.
Your cortisol levels are way higher than they should be as a 26-year-old, 27-year-old at the time, or 26 at the time, 27 now. And they're like, you need to have this put in your chest. It's still in my chest right now. It's right there. And I got the surgery in the morning, and I went to school after.
Wow. Yep.
You don't want to make sub plans.
Because it was
it would make more stress for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Only a teacher would understand.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like, you're
It's like,
an
I'd rather go
idiot.
to school.
But only a teacher would understand. I was like, I'm in this hospital bed. I was just like, I was awake during the surgery. I got like, my whole chest is numbed out. I'm like covered in this like stuff to like open up my chest. And I'm like, I didn't give sub plans.
Yep.
Who's gonna sub my class?
Yep.
I didn't order a sub on Sub Central. I didn't leave plans with the district. I didn't like connect it to standards. And I'm sitting in this hospital bed.
Yep.
After getting a surgery for my heart, and my heart's going off again.
Yeah.
And it's just like that cycle. And luckily, I'm happy to say that like since then, I got my diagnosis, I got my medication for it. You know, and I haven't had a single episode since, which is fantastic, and I'm really happy about that. But it was humbling,
Yeah.
to see that it's like, I love this job.
Right.
And I love it enough that I'll let it push me to potentially having a heart attack at 27 because I want to be that good at it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the side of teaching. Like, obviously it's all fun and we joke and we kid and we post content and we laugh and all this, but it's like, it's real. It's very, very real. And
For
I
sure.
think that like the weight that it has, like I hope that anyone who has experienced something or thinks they might be experiencing something similar to that, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real, and it doesn't make you a bad teacher, but you got to be able to like weigh your own health when you're experiencing the good, the bad, and the ugly in the
Yeah.
classroom.
So I want to bring up 2 points with there. So
Sure.
the first one is, you talk about like the sacrifices that you make so you don't miss being at school.
Right.
One of my biggest regrets, I so regret this. My first year of teaching was during COVID, and my grandma died from COVID, and she was living in Poland, and like we couldn't get over to see her. Bad deal. Okay, bad deal. And my mom and dad, they live an hour and 20 minutes from where I live. And my freaking grandma died. My mom was having a hard time with it. And I remember thinking, okay, should I take bereavement leave and go be with my mom, or should I go to school? And I had so much guilt thinking like, if I leave right now during COVID and we've got so many subs in the room, I hate to make more stress for somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to school. And it's like, dude, I left my freaking family like I left them there. It's like, what was I thinking? And teachers have so many stories like that. The sacrifices they make because they don't want to be a burden on other people. Because when they're gone, like, when teachers are gone, it is inconvenient for other people.
Right.
Like, there's
100%.
no way around. Like, there's so many issues that happen when you have a sub and kids act up. But that's not the teacher's fault.
Sure.
And I think as teachers, we have a hard time understanding that. Like, that is not our fault. We have to be gone. That's okay. It's okay to be gone. And then the next point you brought up, the anxiety.
Yeah.
I am not one who gets like super jumpy over things. I don't catastrophize. Did I say it right? Catastrophize? Catastrophize.
Honestly,
There
I
you
was about
go.
to say I wouldn't have a clue. So we'll go with
I don't catastrophize things. I don't think. I don't.
What did I teach again?
I don't often make things a bigger deal than they need to be.
Right.
So I think.
You and I both.
But one of the things that I really struggle with is when I'm at school and I hear any sort of loud noise that is not normal for a school, I get so incredibly jumpy. And teachers understand there's everyday noises that you hear and you're used to it. But if you're a teacher and you hear a noise you are not used to, you know what that feels like. And it just, boom, all of a sudden you're like, ooh, what was that?
Yeah.
And I get that way all the time. When I hear a noise that I am not used to, my anxiety goes through the roof. I'm like, there's a safety issue. Something is going on out there. And I know other teachers really struggle with that, especially in the era of school shootings. Like, that is where I really, really struggle as a teacher. And I'll never forget the day that we had a false lockdown, the anxiety and stress that came from that. So at my school, they were installing a lockdown button. So if in the office, they press the button, boom, we go into lockdown. Okay. It's awesome. It's great.
Yeah.
When they were installing it, they accidentally tripped it. So we're in class, we hear it go off, and everybody looks at each other, and then it clicked in my head, like, this is lockdown. This is lockdown noise. And all the kids, we look at each other and like, this is lockdown. All right, here we go. So shout out to my class. They did such a good job with it. We go right into our procedure and we were in lockdown everybody thought we were truly in a lockdown.
Right.
And at my school, we have other things we do before we go into lockdown. We have shelter in place, blah, 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 blah. If we go into lockdown, big deal.
Something's
it is
going on.
immediate
Right.
danger.
100%.
Immediate. So my adrenaline kicks in. We go into lockdown. We all get into the corner. We do the whole thing. I'm seeing kids crying. I'm seeing kids start calling their parents. And then the secretary comes on and says, hey, sorry, false alarm. We are now out of lockdown. And all of the kids were just sitting there looking at each other. And everybody was white as a ghost. Because
I'm
we all
sure.
thought this just happened and went down. And I'm there as an adult trying to like tell everybody, oh, you all did a great job. Did a great job. It wasn't real. Blah, 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 blah. All those kids leave. When they left, I was sitting there shaking. I was shaking because I saw how the kids reacted. I thought about this, we're going to be on the news. Here we go. It's going to be my school. And it was such a bad feeling. It ruined my day.
Oh, 100%.
It completely ruined.
How could you go back?
Physically, I was at a state of fight or flight the entire day. And that goes back to my initial point. When teachers hear those crazy noises in school, their fight or flight kicks on. And when we are constantly in that stage of fight or flight, that is terrible for our physical health. So that would be in the bad category of teaching.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Teachers, what's something you'd love to learn? A new language? How to make pottery? Maybe how to cook some new exotic meals? We're so occupied with making sure our students learn every day that sometimes we lose that curiosity for ourselves. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back-to-school era can come at any age. It's no secret that teaching is a lot. We're so overstimulated every day. It's no wonder we go home feeling exhausted. Doing therapy has been essential for me to set boundaries. It's helped me be a better version of myself for me, my family, and my students. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your busy teacher schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/TOD today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/TOD.
I often hear about, people who deal with anxiety and things like that, but I deal more with depression than I do with anxiety. I have a slight touch of the anxiety, but more depression. But I didn't understand that feeling in my chest. I was teaching at a rough school, and, I kept getting kids, because there was a new teacher across the hall. Well, God bless her heart. She's a sweetheart, but she could not handle the kids.
Yeah.
It was a rough school. And so she had, I think, 15 kids by the end, and I had 36. Because I could handle it. So I kept getting the kids, and I kept getting the compliment of, you can handle it. So we're putting these kids in your class. Y'all, I could not figure out why my chest felt so weird all the time. Like, what is this heaviness? I'm not used to this. And then it would just only escalate and escalate. And then, so you never know, like you said, the day-to-day, the whiplash. Like, I had a girl who was talking to me about her boyfriend getting out of prison, and how, she's looking forward to him coming home, and trying to work with her through that. But then a girl over here who's like about to hit her because she said this, and, trying to control all those things. My anxiety was through the roof to the point where literally I had to switch schools. Like, I appreciate the compliment of telling me that, hey, you can handle it. So we're going to put all these kids in your class, but handling it doesn't mean I'm handling it well.
Yeah, it's true.
What you see and what is actually happening on the inside physically is two different things.
Oh.
Like,
that's
it's
the most
two different
real
things.
thing about teaching I think I've ever heard out loud.
And then to piggyback off of what you guys were talking about with, like, the guilt, teacher guilt for being absent is so real. Y'all, I mean, so real. And for me, the problem is like, I feel bad because I know if you take off at another job, okay, people know, okay, you're out, they'll get over it.
Yeah.
At school, if you call out and there's no sub and a teacher has to cover your class during your planning, it doesn't just mean, hey, okay, she's covering it, you're good. That could now lead to repercussions where, she had to be absent, or
she's always gone.
She's always gone. I'm always having to cover
shut up, you don't know why they're gone.
Yeah,
exactly. Just shut up.
Exactly. And so that's what I think about when I think about having to do sub plans and the task that is and how much work it is. But I also think about the fact that another teacher is going to have to cover me, and what does that mean for me?
Yeah.
Like, what is that going to look like? And then I feel bad for the teacher, and then it's like they got enough on their plate, and then you can tell the ones who nod and smile and do it, and the ones who are like, yeah, I'm coming for you.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
You know what I mean?
Like, you owe me one.
Like, legit.
And it's like the most insane thing because it's like those expectations keep piling, And I think like one thing I wanted to add about like the whole, like the generation that we teach in with like the violence in schools, I had a huge culture shock with having our first lockdown drill teaching seniors and the way that they are so desensitized to it. Because we had actually a situation where somebody got into the school with a knife.
Oof, yikes.
Which was horrifying. But they sent us an email. So it's like, cross your fingers that you have your phone on you unless you're being observed, in which case you can't have your phone anywhere near you. Right. But I didn't know about this unless I had my phone on me.
Yeah.
So that's just dumb as it is. Yeah. But we got this email that was like, we're in lockdown and it's real. And I was like, all right, well, let's pause Othello and let's go into lockdown. And we like cover up the window and all that. And my students were like annoyed. They were like, I need to go to the bathroom. And I was like, no, you don't. I'm like, I promise you don't, because you can't right now. And there's nothing that a student in this generation loves more than to be told that they can't do something.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And it's hard to like, because obviously like I've built up this character of like fun, happy, go lucky, all this. But when the students see something that's not that, they don't know how to act. Yeah. And I think the thing is, it's like when I have to put on that different character, it's instinct, Right. It's not me being like, all right, I'm going to be mean now. No, it's like, sit down because we're in lockdown. And for all I know, whatever is a danger is right outside that door, And the students.
And you're the one in charge.
Exactly.
You are the one in charge of all of those souls.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm 27. I don't have any like combat experience. Yeah. What am I going to do?
Lock a door and put up a green sign.
But these kids were like, I'm not going to sit here and be target practice.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of here. And unfortunately, in the back of my mind, I'm like,
yeah,
I get it.
You got a point. But I got told what I need to do. I'm going to try to do that. We've seen all too many examples of it going wrong, obviously. But it's like, it was a very, very humbling experience to have to sit down with a group of fifth graders and explain to them that if there was ever a gunman in our school, The plan is you hide behind desks. I'm going to throw things at him and try to charge him.
Yeah.
And these kids are sitting here and they're like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I don't talk to you about this and something happens, I can't know that we didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
But the
putting a
thing is,
file
it's
cabinet
like-
by the door.
Yeah. Like I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in education. No one taught me how to fight off a shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, that doesn't help anxiety. I'm anxious about a friggin' lesson plan.
Right.
Never mind someone kicking down my door with a knife, you know? And it's like, you want to talk about guilt? The guilt of not being in school? Let's talk about the guilt of you didn't have a plan when the admin had no idea what to do when somebody came shooting through the school.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the most badass things I ever heard a principal say is, and I won't say where this principal taught because I don't want them to get in trouble.
Sure.
But they're talking about procedures for lockdowns and whatnot. And he said, yep, I was told that when we go into lockdown, I'm going to be also locking down in my office. But for damn sure I'm not doing that. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to go solve the issue as
Yep.
well. I'm like,
100%.
hell yeah.
Good.
Hell yeah. That's a leader in a school for an admin to say, if stuff starts going down, nope. I'm not just going to cower.
100%.
I'm going to be a leader and step up,
Yeah.
which is awesome. And school shootings and school safety is just something that is extremely frustrating and one of the bad things about teaching.
And the thing is like at my school, like I said, it being a rough school, we had a lot of gang population, a lot of those things. Well, I mean, and like you said, with the sounds that you hear, like we heard everybody in an uproar, and you don't know if it's just a fight. Or if it's like something big's going on. And to this day...
Or somebody dropped a book in the hall.
Exactly,
What is it? You don't know what it is.
So we didn't know what exactly the situation was.
Yeah.
So we heard everybody, freaking out, whatever. But once somebody had let a gang leader in, and then they let in a mass of them, and there was a brawl in lunch, and lots of stabbings going on.
Oddly, that
lots
happened
of things.
in my school, too.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And then we were told to stand down. But then, I don't know about you guys, the anxiety of standing down and not having a clue about what in the world is going on. Like, I know they can't be informing us right away or whatever, but just give us some type of like, hey, you don't need to whatever. Because especially those of us, like I was in a trailer. I was teaching in a trailer outside the building.
Sure.
So it's like, we can run. So like, what is it that you want us to do? But hey, you have to stay in place. So, and I remember students, like some of my big boys, and they were like, Miss Rob, no offense, we respect you and we got your back. But if something came out, we're out. Like we're out. Like we're going to run. Like it is what it is.
And students are hyper aware of all of that stuff. So I toured one of the new schools in my district. Gorgeous new building. New high school. One of those that you see and you're like, wow, that looks like a college campus. That looks awesome. So it was a beautiful building. And I was touring it and talking with one of the teachers, and she said, there's windows everywhere. And she's pointing them out. I said, yeah, we got windows everywhere. And the weird thing about this is the kids don't like it because they're so self-conscious about what if there's a shooting and somebody just shoots through a window and comes in here.
Yeah.
Kids are thinking about it. It's not just teachers.
Children.
Kids are thinking about it. And I understand because that stuff's on the news. And I know, like I've read the stats where you've got a better chance of getting hit by a car in the crosswalk than being in a school shooting. However, because it's our community that it's being, like our teaching community that it affects, it's hyper real for us. Hyper real.
Which is why when you said like the newer buildings, they look great and they're modern and they're crisp and they're pretty. But like one of my students, like you said, that is exactly what they said, because in the new building, the classrooms are all glass. Like they're like literally all the way around. It's like a fishbowl. And so when we go into lockdowns, whatever, even the teachers are like, there's not enough shades in the world to pull down or much, how you got to put the black paper up. But like it would take forever. By the time she gets all those down, like then what? But it's crazy that's where our minds go.
Absolutely.
And I think like in a way, the extent to which administrators love to pretend that they have it on lock is laughable. Like I obviously not going to name names of anything, but basically, long story short, my last year in the first school that I taught in, we had a student who was like outwardly saying threats, specific, detailed threats with a list and all this. And basically the way that it fell was this student, the way that this school was set up, it was me and a co-teacher. I taught English and social studies. She taught math and science. During one of her periods, this kid was saying just crazy stuff, and like very detailed stuff, just horrific stuff. And she went to the administrator. So she and the administrator talked about it, and I guess like they had their own like separate conversation. I didn't know a thing. His other teacher,
Wow.
who he's with the second half of the day, had no idea that this was happening at all.
Oh, man.
Aside from that, no parent had been reached out to. Oh my gosh. So then he came back into my room with his class, and it's not like it's gonna stop. You didn't do anything about it. So he said some stuff to me.
Oh, gosh.
I have like the strange opinion that like you got to do something.
Right.
You got to do something. You got to say something. You have to make a move and talk to everyone around so that we're aware of this. Because I feel like way too often it's painted right in front of you, and we just pretend it's not happening because we don't want to have like the statistic of there being like a threat. You know. Screw that.
Yeah.
I immediately called home. I immediately talked to all the other teachers. I found out that this had been a problem that had been happening for a while, and my admin had chosen to not tell me. So I called home, and I was like, listen, he's saying this, and this. I don't feel like it's coming from like a point of being a bad kid, but we got to talk about what he's saying and why. You got to come in. We got to do this, and this. My admin got mad at me for making that call. Because she wasn't in the room with me. I'm like, okay, well, you could have done it the first time that this happened.
Yeah.
You know? And I think in a weird way, it connects like the expectations and the anxiety to the guilt, where it's like, you're making me feel bad that I took action? What?
Yeah.
In what world is that not the right choice? You know, and made me feel like an idiot because of my actions. And somehow in this moment, you don't know what that kid was going to do the next day.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't think any of my students are bad people. But we all go through things. We all have things going on. We all have
Triggers.
situations and triggers. You don't know what the kid could do.
No.
But at least let's take step one.
Yeah.
And at least let's get everyone on the same page. When that happened, I realized that regardless of how many credentials an admin can have, how much it looks like they have everything together, how professional they seem, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't, and very few admins will admit that they don't know.
Yeah.
Right? And it puts everyone at risk. And it's tough.
And what gets me is like life experience. So for me, the way that I grew up versus the way that you guys may have grown up, I don't know your background. I grew up in a very rough background. So like for me, I could handle some of the things that came up in our classroom violence-wise. Yeah. I'm pretty proud of myself. I can fight. So my kids know, don't play with me. Yeah. Like don't come for me. Don't play with me.
Yeah.
Legit, do not play with me.
Leslie will fight us.
She's going to punch me in the throat.
Meat armbar.
Even those small things in teaching teachers, like not to act scared. That's something I learned growing up. Not something I was taught or trained as a teacher. I know you don't act scared, you play it off. For example, I was teaching in a rough school up north, and we're not going to name the school, but I was teaching there, and I, of course, I teach family consumer sciences. Culinary arts was one of my classes. Yeah. Try teaching in a rough school with butcher knives everywhere. Bad. So this boy, I had like made him mad, and he pulled out a butcher knife on me, and he was like, I'm going to cut you. I'm like, I looked him dead in the eye. I remained calm, and I said, cut me. And he was like, what? I said, yeah, cut me. I said, but I tell you this, you better hope I don't get up. Because if I get up, I'm going to beat you bleeding and all. And he goes, yo, you crazy. And he put it down. Had I act scared, it could have been a different result.
Okay,
so
Rambo.
I'm
what
just
in the
saying.
world?
Ice in the veins,
Yeah,
Leslie.
that's crazy.
She's a killer.
Can we switch seats?
Holy yeah.
I feel like I'm about to get knocked out over here.
Saying.
Yeah.
But that's from life experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything they trained me on as a teacher.
Yeah, 100%.
Because think about if I didn't know that. And it could have went a different alternative, and then, the whole thing would have turned otherwise.
Yep.
But because I know my uncle who taught me, like, you don't act scared. You play that stuff off. Yep. And that's what I did. I was scared as all get out.
Crazy with crazy.
Legit.
Exactly.
Because don't nobody mess with crazy. Because nobody mess with crazy.
I love it.
I haven't known you for very long. But you, like,
this is gonna be
everything
good.
is so sweet, so nice. And then you tell this story like, you stab me, do it.
But you better hope you kill me. Oh my God.
You better hope you finish the
I'm
job.
like, am I sitting next to Chapo over here?
Oh,
I'm not even kidding.
My God.
That comes from being raised the way I was raised.
Holy
I'm just saying.
crap.
Yeah, I'm that teacher.
I mean, listen.
Like, would they say a wolf in sheep's clothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me, bro.
See, I would love.
Crazy.
Wow, that is.
Yeah.
You're also like the sweetest person in the
Yeah.
world.
Well, thanks, guys.
She's also just like so nice.
I try to be.
I like that she has that like duality to her
Yeah.
where
What
she's
is it, like a Sour Patch Kid?
yeah, where she's like, I'll give you a hug or curb stomp you. You choose.
That's
I like
nuts.
that. That's like the teacher energy where it's
Yeah.
like, play with me, watch what
Yeah,
happens.
because literally, like, but that's again something I learned from life experience. Like, I know that one teacher had brought up when I taught a PD, and one of the teachers had brought up how teachers need one of the PD sessions should be self defense.
Yeah.
Learning how to
Teachers need to know how to
do
talk shit.
self defense. Talk
You
shit.
know how to talk that.
Legit. Oh my gosh. Like, for real, because of the fact that, like, those are things they don't know.
Yeah.
And then you learn the hard way that that's how it's going to go down. But that's just me. Like, teaching in, like, rough schools like that, it was easier for me, or I could handle it
Yeah.
because it's where I came from.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
and
so cool.
I will say
that's
It's wild.
Not cool that you have to be in those situations.
No, I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that
I know
you
what you
have
mean.
that gear in you where you're like, stab me. Do it.
Oh.
Do it. You won't. You won't. Like, that's so
No,
cool.
she idles in 5th gear. There's no doubt in my mind. No, but it's like I will say that's one thing that I will always credit the school that I came from. Like the very first school that I ever taught at, there were two people who I knew immediately when I got into my school. Like I was working in Roxbury, Massachusetts.
Shout out.
Shout out. Roxbury, we got like the Mission Hill area. It's just like the fact of the matter is it's a very rough part of Boston. Like very huge, like high poverty rate, like lots of crime, lots of violence. And it's just like a tough area. And the like kids who are in that area, like they deal with things that most people don't deal with. And being I'm very aware of who I am. I'm very aware of who I am, where I'm going, and like the ins and outs around that, you know? And I wanted to make it clear that there's no part of me that's going to pretend that I fully understand your experience or that we have a shared experience. I'm not going to pretend that that's the case because that's wrong.
Yeah.
And I had two people who they were not only employees in the school, they were mothers, grandmothers, sisters, to all of these people in this community, and they knew how to talk, they knew how to argue, they knew how to decide on what the right and wrong thing to do was, and I got to learn from them.
Yeah.
Like, I had this one teacher, and I talked about her last time I was on here. Her name's Miss T. Love her to death. She's amazing. And I'm not going to say like the student's name to like correlate her, but Miss T's incredible. She's an incredible mom. She's an incredible teacher. She's just like an example of the best ways to work with students in this situation. And there was one time where she worked with very, very young kids. But I was having issues with a 5th grader, and she was like, "Oh, him? I had him when he was in kindergarten. Tell him you're going to send him to me." Mind you, she taught kindergarten, baby. This kid is a 5th grader. It's been 5 years.
Oh, man.
And I look at him and I go, would it be easier for me to just let you go talk to Miss T? And he goes, did not say a word for maybe a week.
Oh my gosh.
And then, since she knew that there was something going on, he knew that she knew.
Well, yeah,
because
for
everyone's
sure.
talking. We saw her in the hall walking by, and she looks at him, and I swear to God, I saw his soul leave his body. You're him. She's walking by with her class, and she goes. And this kid went from like 4'8" to 3'2".
That is
in that
hilarious.
moment. And the thing is, it's like, she didn't have to do a thing.
Yeah.
She didn't say a word. She didn't threaten anything. Like, she didn't have to do anything. And I got to see that it was like, you need to let them know you're going to hold them to that high standard all the time.
Oh, for sure.
In the school, out of the school, with their mom, with their dad, with every single person.
Yeah.
You're going to hold them way up here. And if they do anything other than that, you're going to let them know that it's wrong.
Well, one of the things that I will die on this hill, even though kids have trauma, even though kids have gone through it, we need to show love for that, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
However, we need to keep our expectations high.
100%.
Always.
Because if we start teaching people at a young age, hey, just because you had something bad that happened to you, now you get a free pass to have zero expectations, they're going to leave school and life is going to be very challenging
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
It can go very bad. So we need to keep those high expectations
For sure.
and let students know, here's my expectation.
Yeah.
I have this expectation because I know you can do this.
Yeah.
We got to stay at these the expectations.
Yeah, the firm but fair approach.
100%.
But the part and that's essential across the board.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be balance.
Yep.
I think that like the bridge between like you have trauma, but we need to be productive about it is like I had a bunch of classes during my bachelor's about trauma-induced teaching. And I did a lot of like side licenses on trauma-induced teaching because I knew where I was teaching. It's like, you got to be ready. And the very first thing that they teach is like meeting students where they're at before you accelerate. Yeah. So the student knows that you recognize that they've had ups and downs and that they're coming into the classroom with like A, B, and C like trauma. But reiterating the fact like you're there for them, you're human, they're human, you're there for them, but we are going to move together. We're going to move forward together. Enabling a student to use their experiences to completely avoid anything, that can extend to a million different things. Yeah. You know, and you don't want that ethic to spread into their family relationships, their friendships, their relationships with themselves. Like the mental health issues that can come out of that will cripple them in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I think that like having that expectation while also being there for them is key.
One of the things that a counselor told me once that really stuck with me, and it was a hard thing to understand as a teacher, but I think teachers need to hear it. It's you're going to have kids that have trauma. Yeah. You're going to have it. As a teacher, you're naturally going to want to be there for them and help them and you know, go through the trauma. Yeah. However, you might not be trained to handle that. Yep. And when you start unpacking that trauma with the kid, you could be making it worse for them than you think.
100%.
Just because you care about somebody does not mean you have the skill set and the training to start going through the trauma. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. Where I was like, whoa, yeah, there are times that I'm not the guy for you to seek advice from me about trauma or for me to start poking and prying and try to get things out of you.
Very true.
If a kid will say it to you naturally, awesome. That's great. Yeah. Sometimes as a teacher, when a kid starts telling you about all of their trauma and all the things that are going on, you just have to listen. Yep. And then you tell that student, hey, I'm so glad you told me. Yeah. I don't have the training to help you right now. Yeah. Let's go find you somebody that can help you.
Exactly.
Because we can damage the kid even though we think we are doing good, because as teachers, we naturally want to help the kid.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is I always tell teachers, I said, you know what, help the kids, but not to your own detriment. Yep. Like I say, listen, when and I know this may be not a popular response, but I think that it ends at the double doors. Yep. Like, because there was one teacher who, one of the students, obviously she comes from a really terrible home life, and she made some horrible decisions. You know, she had a reputation amongst the boys at school. Sure. And so this teacher's like, I'm going to save her. You know, she's like her second year of teaching. Yeah. You know, like when you still have hope. Yeah. And so.
It goes quick.
Yes. That she's going to make a difference. I think she's probably seen Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds, and that, you know, or Freedom Writers, and that's what did it. But so she decided to take this student home, guys, home. And she's like, I'm going to help her and I'm going to make a difference. And so she brought her home, and she found out that she had been sneaking guys into a house that was empty in the neighborhood. All types of things went down. Police were called. So much, and literally that teacher, it literally destroyed her family. Yeah. Because we take it too far. Yeah. So, and you don't know, like Gabe said, like you open these windows and of trauma, and then you're trying to fix it. You don't know what you're doing.
You're not trained to do it.
We're not, and, you know, like just because, like for example, like she did that, right? That's something that foster parent would do. Yep. Do you know how much foster parent training you have to go through before you do something like that? Yeah. You can't do that stuff willy nilly.
100%.
Like that's just not. It's not. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help you at all.
And it doesn't come. That doesn't come to us naturally as teachers. True. Because we are givers. We want to help. What can we do? What can we do next? How can we help?
Well, actually, I was about to say, and one thing that I was like hoping to ask about is like, so with the students that I've had in the past couple of years, I've been able to create an environment where students feel very comfortable coming to me with things. And I will never be upset about that, ever. But I feel like what doesn't get talked about enough is the weight that comes with being the teacher that students will talk to. And I think that what I wasn't expecting is like, first and foremost, I don't care your gender, your race, your background, your age, 100%. Anything. I will always be an ear when you need to talk. Because I know the weight of having things in your head and needing to get them out, and instead having a conversation with yourself and then tunneling. I will always take the extra time. I'll sit after school for 3 hours to hear you tell me everything that you have going on. But there is a weight to that. There's a weight to that, and there's a weight that can easily supersede the classroom.
Yeah.
I've been up at night, like, luckily for me, instead of just having anxiety, I also have insomnia. And that was primarily pushed by, I'll think about my students and their situations. And I remember like this year, it was like November, and I was thinking to myself at night, I was like, are my students at home right now?
Yeah.
Like, are my students in bed? Like, are my students safe right now? And I didn't sleep a wink. And I think that it's like, it sucks because I know it's a good thing. You know, I know that it's good to want your students to be safe, obviously.
Yeah.
But in worrying about them, I'm fully deteriorating myself.
Yeah.
You know? And to find middle ground in that is like the test of time.
Right.
You know? And I think the thing is, it's like, I obviously don't want to let it like simmer because then I'll end up having another heart attack at 27.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, no one needs that. But I think that what people don't talk about enough is that it's like, it's hard to be the teacher that kids will go to.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a lot of responsibility.
Now, I'll admit, though, I mean, okay, I'm just going to be a little transparent.
Sure.
I don't mind being the teacher they come to tell the tea.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You love the drama.
That's a
you
good
won't
one.
tell the
Yeah,
tea.
that's
I'm
so
here
true.
for it. Like, I remember I made a video about that. I was like, how I should respond
Yep.
is like, no, we're not going to talk about that. But how I do respond is like, let's talk real quick.
Oh, those are
So
beautiful.
what happened?
Yep.
What happened? You know?
Can I rip off that bit?
You totally can.
I'd love
you
to.
totally can.
I'll give you credit for all
You
that
totally
too. Those
can.
are too funny.
I ain't gonna knock down no tea now because the kids got the best tea.
They really do.
They
Yeah,
do.
for
They do.
sure.
I want to bring one serious point up, and then go back to some lighter stuff because I'm
Sure.
sure these listeners are like, oh, we want to laugh at something. So one thing, I sat in a PD a couple years ago, and I about walked out of the PD because I got so frustrated. This was speaking in front of thousands of people. We're in this arena. This teacher, didn't teach, hasn't taught since the '80s, and getting paid $20,000 to give these speeches. Awesome, wonderful. He stood up there and said, imagine a school where all of you teachers treat every single kid in the school as if it's your child. And I wanted to stand up and say, what are you talking about? There's a reason why parents can only have 2 to 3 to 4 kids because they emotionally cannot take it.
Yep.
So you're going to tell these thousands of teachers that we should treat this school full of 1,000 kids, every single one of them as our child?
Yep.
What are you saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that frustrates me a lot, where in these teacher trainings, sometimes they are wonderful. Absolutely. Sometimes they're wonderful. Sometimes you have someone that's just talking out of their butt and they're saying things that sound good. And we're looking for that teacher for wisdom, or that person for wisdom. And they say something like that. I'm like, dude, you are so out of touch with reality.
Right. Yeah,
So out of touch.
100%.
All right. So
Yeah.
that is one thing that frustrates me. Another thing, good, bad, ugly. I don't know where this one would fall into there. I was on a Netflix show last year.
Okay.
Reality show.
Flex.
No, I don't know if it's a flex. It was
We're all
bad.
flex.
It was bad reality TV. Well, it was interesting.
But that's
reality
the best
TV.
reality TV.
I was
Yeah.
gonna
Are you
say, is
kidding
there
me?
any others?
I only watch bad reality TV.
So it came out in October.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my students knew about it. Like there was
Oh,
PR
man.
and stuff behind it and whatnot.
Sure.
So the show came out, and the comments that my students had were so funny. They would make fun of me over everything
Of course.
on the show. One of the things that my entrance was so cringy. Wasn't my choice. Wasn't my choice if anybody saw the
You're
show.
like just putting out there.
So they have me arriving to the show on a jet boat, is what they called it. And they have this cringy song that, one of those copyright-free playlists, and all it's saying is,
We are so watching this.
I was
so bad.
I was
We are
just
so-
thinking
we are
that. I
so
was
watching
like,
five,
I need
come
the
on.
name
I'm
of that.
sorry.
I need the name of that.
Surviving Paradise was the name. It was a fun show.
Okay.
It genuinely was fun.
Okay.
It genuinely was fun. So the song, all they do is they keep saying, I'm the GOAT. I'm the GOAT. And then it's got me coming on. And I remember when we filmed it, the guy said, okay, take your hand, go right through your hair like this. So they replayed that shot like 8 times.
Oh my gosh.
So then so all you keep hearing is, I'm the GOAT, and boom, you doing this.
Yeah.
Slide. You see it a whole bunch. So then I would come to class, and I had a class full of students. They all, as I walk in, they go, I'm the GOAT, and do this and make fun of me. I was
man.
like, that is so funny.
You'll
That is
never live
so
it down.
funny.
That's bad.
So the kids, some of them watched the show, some didn't. It wasn't for kids, so
Yeah.
some of them that did, whatever.
Sure.
And it was just funny that they would make fun of me for it. It was all good banter.
Of course.
And I was pretty cutthroat on the show, which that's just how my personality is.
Oh my
I'm a
gosh.
psycho competitor.
Love it.
So some of these kids, they're like, wow, you're like really nice in the classroom and you're kind of crazy on the show.
If you're not crazy, you're not
You're
going to
like,
make a
I'm
good
flexible.
teacher. You're not going to be a good teacher. You got to be a little crazy.
You gotta be a
You're
little
just
crazy.
flexible.
Yeah.
Point one right here. You told the kid, if you're going to stab me, do it. You got to have a little bit of crazy in you.
For sure, you got to have a balance.
100%.
There's a balance.
So I don't know what category good, bad, and ugly
That
go
could
in the class.
definitely be a
that's
good.
ugly.
So, yeah. you could-
In my opinion, it's good.
yeah.
So I was
Because-
thinking ugly, but a good kind of ugly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because the fact that the kids created a whole thing.
It was good. It
It's
was
good.
funny. All right, before we sign off here, share 1 to 2 good things in the classroom that you guys
Okay.
have every single day.
All right, so guys, I am the queen teacher when it comes to embracing interruptions.
Whoa.
I'm not gonna lie, I got a bragging moment.
Whoa.
So one of my boys is a class clown, got to show off. And so I'm up at the board and I'm teaching. And I'm like, okay, so what's the answer to number 1? He raises his hand, and I always use this example. I'm so proud of it. So he goes, I said, so does anybody know the answer to number 1? Everybody was on task, and you feel like you're doing the thing.
Sure.
And he had to take it there. So he goes, I want a number 1, a Big Mac meal from McDonald's. And I was like, you know what? Me too. What you get on your Big Mac? Do you put extra sauce? Do you da-da-da-da-da?
Yeah.
Like, I get him on, and it literally shuts him up.
Yeah.
I was
It's
so
beautiful.
proud of it.
It's
because
beautiful.
literally, and that's just reminded me, like, sometimes it's good to go off script. Like, as a
100%.
teacher.
Yeah.
Like, you can go off script and just bring it on back.
That's
but I
half
was
of
so
what I
proud
do
of
is off
myself.
script.
Another good
Did
thing.
you do anything on script in your classroom?
No.
You're striking me as completely off
Nothing
script.
is on script. Are you
Yes,
kidding me?
ever.
What is a
Like,
script?
Well, then you're not having fun then.
Exactly.
The other good thing is, believe it or not, I know it's going to sound crazy, but this is just something I always like to share with teachers, is that circle time doesn't stop at preschool and elementary. So, like, I used to teach kindergarten, and I used to do circle time.
Yep.
Believe it or not, as a high school teacher, I do circle time.
Nice.
I know it sounds crazy. So, like, at the beginning of each class, I have the kids share, and at the beginning of the year, it gets kind of crazy because I ain't sharing. I ain't got nothing to say. But by mid-year, you have the kids, sharing their life, and it gives you an opportunity to kind of to see that other side.
Yeah.
In a positive way, because, we mandated reporters.
Yep. 100%.
So I put that out there right at the
Don't
beginning.
tell us everything,
Look,
please.
yeah.
Don't say everything.
I'm like, look, boo, I'm a mandated reporter. Be careful what you say.
I'm going to tell him everything.
Okay, but that's something I also do.
Yeah.
And so, and then from that, we extended to doing class dinners. And so me and the kids would meet.
That's beautiful.
Me and the kids, and I, rotate different class each week. So, like, we'd meet at Olive Garden, whatever. And
Yep.
sometimes the parents came, sometimes the parents didn't. And we'd have class dinners. But just some ideas for,
cool.
Look at you, Socrates,
Yeah,
over
that's
here.
good.
Whoa, what a teacher.
That's awesome. I love that.
She's getting all you can eat breadsticks.
Yeah, right.
Tell her kiss and stab me.
I would house.
Oh, she can do it all.
Guys,
That's what I was
I was
gonna
going to
say.
yes.
say, you're literally like the
the teacher
Omni
has
teacher.
2 faces.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Honestly, I'm gonna keep mine. I'm gonna keep mine quick with this because there's one story that I always come back to when I think of like something I'm just really, really proud of. I have ADHD. I got diagnosed when I was 27. This year.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize that was part of the reason why I struggled a lot in school growing up. I always just thought I wasn't working hard enough, and I got a much different perspective of just learning disabilities in general. And there was one student that I had in my first school, and I love her to death, and she's fantastic. I'm not going to say her name, but very, very early on in my time teaching her, I could tell that she was having trouble reading. We didn't know why. We tried to figure it out. So what I would try to do is during class, I had my students organized in each table had a student that was very, very high achieving based on the first assignment or first assessment, then middle, lower, middle, bottom. Mm-hmm. They would all be in the same table, so they sort of feed off of each other. It's
Kagan strategy.
It's pretty well known to bring
got.
up everybody. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But this student specifically, when they would be working in groups, I would bring her over and we would do intensive reading together and we'd practice. And I realized that this isn't a lack of understanding. It's dyslexia. Mm-hmm. I could tell it immediately. Anything I've ever done, I knew it. And I was able to have meetings with her mom, get her diagnosed, get her set on an IEP, get her set with a specialist. And I found out just a couple months ago that she got accepted into the middle school that she's always wanted to get into.
cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
And she doesn't even need an IEP on it anymore.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh my
So that's
God.
fantastic.
Wow.
That's something I'm really happy about.
That's great.
Definitely a good.
I'm pumped about that.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's
Well, we'll
so
end
good.
it on that. We'll end it on that note. We love it. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Teachers Off Duty podcast. Go follow these lovely teachers online. Check them out. We appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye-bye.